The night Marcus Hale lost everything, the world never paused to notice. People stepped over him on the sidewalks of downtown Phoenix without a second glance, their suits brushing past his torn jacket, their polished shoes splashing through the puddles near the bench where he slept. The city hummed with life, glass towers, neon lights, the endless roar of traffic, but to Marcus, it all sounded like one long reminder that the life he once had was gone. Before he became homeless, before fate twisted his world apart, Marcus had been a decorated U.S. Army helicopter pilot, man trusted to command million-dollar aircraft in the harshest war zones. But the military doesn't follow you home. Trauma does. Loss does. And Marcus carried both until they crushed the life he once knew. Now, he lived in an alley behind a coffee shop, where the workers knew him only as the quiet man who asked for leftover muffins at closing time. None of them knew he used to fly Blackhawks through thunderstorms, or that he once saved 18 soldiers from an ambush. He didn't talk about that anymore. He barely talked at all. But fate has a strange habit of finding people who are trying to disappear. That morning, the city was stirred awake by the arrival of a helicopter slicing across the skyline, its rotors thundering overhead. People shielded their eyes as the sleek black chopper descended onto the helipad atop the Orion Air corporate tower, home to the youngest female aviation CEO in the country, Evelyn Carlisle. She was brilliant, ruthless, and richer than the people she stepped on to reach the top. They called her the Ice Queen of the Skies, and she wore the name like a badge. Beneath her flawless exterior, the white suit, the diamond earrings, the glossy ponytail, Evelyn guarded a truth. She didn't trust anyone. Not employees. Not partners. Not even her own father, who had handed her the company before dying suddenly and leaving behind a web of secrets she wasn't ready to face. She didn't know it yet, but one of those secrets was walking the streets below her office, hungry and exhausted. Staring at his own reflection in a dark window, Marcus wandered near the tower that day because the warmth radiating from its underground vents helped him survive the cold morning wind. He stood alone, looking up at the skyscraper, once a place he might have interviewed for. Back when he still believed his future was bigger than survival. Now, the building felt like another world. He was about to walk away when a woman's scream broke through the noise of the city. People turned. A luxury sports car had rolled out of control after the driver fainted at the wheel. It was heading straight toward a mother pushing a stroller across the street. Without thinking, Marcus ran. His legs, weak from malnutrition, somehow found strength. He threw himself forward, shoving the woman and baby out of the path just in time. The car skidded, smashed into a pole, and a crowd gathered around shouting in panic. The mother cried, hugging her child, thanking Marcus again and again as paramedics arrived. Someone filmed the whole thing. Someone else whispered, "Isn't that the homeless guy who sleeps near the bus stop?" Marcus didn't wait for praise. He slipped away before anyone could stop him. But fate saw everything. On the top floor of Orion Air, Evelyn stood by her office window, reviewing a marketing proposal. When her assistant stumbled into the room, wide-eyed, holding a phone, "You need to see this." Evelyn frowned as the video played, a homeless man saving a stranger's baby. She watched the clip twice. Something about the man's face, the sharp discipline in his movements, the way he reacted under pressure, it stirred something she couldn't name. "Find him," she ordered. Now, the assistant blinked. "Ma'am, he's a homeless. I said find him." Her tone cut like steel. An hour later, Marcus sat near a fountain, trying to warm his hands. When a luxury black SUV pulled up beside him, a man in a suit stepped out. "Sir, Ms. Evelyn Carlisle would like a word with you." Marcus blinked in confusion. "With me?" "Yes, sir. You saved someone earlier today." The video reached her. Marcus hesitated. He didn't trust rich people. They never helped men like him unless they wanted something. But a part of him, a part he thought had died, whispered that maybe this was a chance. Maybe this was the beginning of something he didn't dare to hope for. So, reluctantly, he got into the SUV. When the elevator doors opened on the top floor, Evelyn was standing with her arms crossed, waiting for him. Her eyes scanned him, not with disgust, but with a chilling curiosity. "You're Marcus Hale," she said. Former U.S. Army helicopter pilot. Marcus tensed. How do you know my name? I make it my business to know everything, she replied, especially when someone catches my attention. She walked slowly around him, circling like a hawk. You saved a family today. That's admirable, but that's not why you're here. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Then why? She smirked. Because I like proving people wrong. And you look like someone everyone. Count it out. She led him to the rooftop. Helipad, where a massive Orion Air prototype helicopter sat gleaming in the sun. A machine so advanced it hadn't even been introduced to the public yet. Engineers whispered about it like a myth. Evelyn touched the metal affectionately. This, she said, is the most powerful chopper in the Western Hemisphere. She turned to him. Tell me, Marcus, can you fly it? He stared at the beast of a machine. 4 main rotors, hybrid turbine engines, a cockpit design he'd never seen. I don't know this model, he admitted. She stepped closer, her voice dripping with arrogance. Then I'll make you a deal, she smirked. Fly this chopper, and I'll marry you. The engineers behind her gasped. Marcus stared at her, unsure if she was joking or insane. Evelyn lifted her chin confidently. What? Too overwhelmed to speak? Marcus stepped forward, meeting her eyes. Why would you offer something like that to a homeless stranger? Her smile faltered for the first time. She wasn't expecting him to question her. Because, she said finally, I don't believe you can do it. Simple. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest, not anger, but something sharper. This woman wasn't offering a chance. She was mocking him, humiliating him, testing him like a circus trick. And yet something else burned beneath her arrogance, fear. He saw it. She hit it well, but not from him. Something about this helicopter. Something about her challenge. It wasn't random. Evelyn tossed him the access key. It hit his palm with a metallic clink. Go on, she taunted. If you fly it, you win. If you fail, you disappear. Simple. Marcus exhaled slowly. You don't know anything about me? Evelyn stepped closer, her voice lowering into something almost vulnerable. Oh, but I do. And if you think I chose you randomly, she paused. You have no idea who you really are. Marcus froze. What does that mean? Evelyn didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the side and folded her arms. Prove me wrong, Marcus Hale. Let's see what's left of the hero you used to be. Marcus swallowed. The city wind whipped across the rooftop, sending a chill through him. The future dangled in front of him like a razor's edge, a chance to reclaim his identity or be shattered completely. He stepped toward the helicopter, every footstep echoing against the metal. The engineers whispered nervously. Evelyn watched him intensely, eyes burning with something between defiance and dread. Marcus placed his hand on the chopper's cold surface. And suddenly, memories surged. Desert heat, roaring engines, the screams of war, the sound of his co-pilot dying beside him. His hands trembled. He wasn't afraid of the helicopter. He was afraid of who he became after he stopped flying it. But then he looked back at Evelyn, and the challenge in her eyes ignited something inside him that had been dead for years. He climbed inside the cockpit, staring at the unfamiliar controls. Evelyn shouted from outside, "Fly it, and your life changes forever." Marcus closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and reached for the ignition. And at that exact second, the ground beneath the helicopter vibrated violently. Then an alarm. Then a scream. Evelyn's worst fear was about to explode onto the rooftop, and Marcus didn't know yet. But the truth she was hiding was far more dangerous than the helicopter itself. The alarm blared so loudly that it shook Marcus back into the present, ripping him from the memories that had been suffocating him. He snapped his eyes open and scanned the cockpit instinctively, hands moving with old instinct despite years of rust. Evelyn shouted from the platform, her voice trembling for the first time since he met her. Engineers ran toward her, panicked and confused as the helicopter's engine lights flickered through a series of error codes Marcus didn't recognize. Something was seriously wrong. Something dangerous. Marcus climbed out of the cockpit immediately and sprinted toward the rear panel where smoke began to curl from the side vents. "Get back!" he yelled, waving at the engineers. They stepped back, startled by his authority, a tone he hadn't used in years. Evelyn stood frozen, fighting to keep her expression cold, but her hands were shaking. Marcus reached the smoking vent and ripped open the panel. What he saw made his jaw clench. Sabotage. Not mechanical failure. Not an accident. Someone had jammed the control synchronization cables with an explosive primer. Not big enough to destroy the helicopter, but big enough to cause a meltdown in the engine core the moment he attempted liftoff. Big enough to kill him in front of her. Marcus turned his head sharply and stared at Evelyn. She flinched under his gaze. "You knew," he said quietly, voice shaking with anger. "You brought me here to die." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Say it," he demanded, stepping toward her. "Say you knew this chopper was rigged to blow?" Her throat bobbed. She didn't confirm it, but she didn't deny it either. And that was enough. The wind whipped around them. Engineers started panicking as Marcus threw the sabotaged part onto the ground. "Someone set this up," he said loudly. "This was intentional," one of the junior engineers blurted out. "Miss Carlyle, the board warned you this would happen." Evelyn silenced him with a murderous glare. Marcus stared between them, pieces clicking together. "You're in trouble," he said softly. "This company, this helicopter. Someone is trying to take you down." She breathed shakily, finally losing the icy composure she clung to. "It's not someone," she whispered. "It's all of them." The words hit him like a punch. Evelyn turned away from the crowd, but Marcus followed. "Tell me." She took a shaky breath, her voice very small now, nothing like the arrogant CEO who mocked him minutes earlier. "When my father died, he left Orion Air to me. But the board? They never accepted me. They think I'm too young, too inexperienced. I've spent 2 years fighting to keep the company out of their hands." She swallowed hard. "This helicopter prototype R breakthrough design was my last chance to prove myself at the International Expo next week. And now..." Her eyes drifted to the sabotaged engine. "Now it's ruined." Marcus watched her shoulders sink under the weight of her words. The woman who had looked untouchable minutes earlier now looked like someone drowning and pretending she was fine. "Why bring me up here?" Marcus asked quietly. "Why mock me? Why risk my life on this?" She hesitated, closing her eyes. "Because I needed someone the board didn't monitor. Someone off the grid. Someone they'd never suspect. Someone..." She paused, meeting his eyes, "who once worked for my father." Marcus froze. "What did you just say?" Evelyn stepped closer. "You think I didn't know who you were? My dad trusted 5 pilots with access to classified aerospace tests." She swallowed. "You were one of them. Marcus Hale, the man who flew my father into 2 war zones. The man who saved him twice." Marcus's breath caught in his throat. Memories he had tried to bury clawed to the surface. Evelyn's father, General Carlyle, patting him on the shoulder after a successful extraction mission. Laughing in the cockpit, promising him a future in private aviation once his service ended. But the general never kept that promise. Marcus had always thought he'd been forgotten. But now he realized the truth. The general had died before he could give Marcus the job, and Marcus had spiraled into homelessness without ever knowing there had been a future waiting for him. Evelyn lowered her voice. "You disappeared after the accident. After you lost your co-pilot. My father sent people to find you. But..." She looked down. "He died before they did." Marcus's knees felt weak. He gripped the railing of the rooftop. The revelation hit him like a storm. "Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" he asked. She looked away. "Because I didn't want you to say no. I needed you to fly the helicopter today before the board destroyed it completely. And I needed to know if you were still the man my father trusted." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. "You manipulated me," he said, voice low. "You mocked me. You used me. I had no choice," she whispered. "My company is all I have left." Marcus almost walked away, almost left her there to face her own problems. But then he saw something in her eyes. Not arrogance. Not cruelty. But fear. Not for herself, but for the legacy her father left behind. And Marcus understood fear well. He understood loss even better. Before he could speak, the rooftop access door burst open and 3 men in suits rushed out. Board members, their eyes went straight to the smoking helicopter and then to Marcus. One of them sneered, "So this is the homeless test pilot you chose?" "Brilliant, Evelyn. Truly." Evelyn stiffened. "Stay out of this, Drayton." But Drayton stepped forward, pointing at Marcus. "You're trespassing on corporate property? The police are on the way." Marcus's fists clenched at his sides. He wasn't afraid of them, but he didn't want to go to jail. He didn't want trouble. He just wanted to leave. But Drayton wasn't finished. He turned to Evelyn. "And you have violated every protocol we have. You allowed a vagrant near a multi-million-dollar prototype?" He stepped closer, voice dripping with hatred. "You are unfit to lead this company. And after today's stunt, you're finished." Evelyn's breath hitched. She didn't let them see the tears forming in her eyes. Marcus stepped between them before he even realized he was moving. Drayton scoffed. "Move aside, trash." That word snapped something in Marcus's chest. Before he could speak, another board member said loudly, "Evelyn, the vote to remove you as CEO happens tonight. Consider this your last day." The words hit Evelyn like a physical blow. She swayed on her feet. Marcus grabbed her arm instinctively. "You all right?" he asked quietly. She blinked away tears furiously. "I'm fine," she whispered, voice cracking. Drayton smirked. "Escort her out." The security guards moved forward. Marcus saw fear in Evelyn's eyes again, not for herself, but for the company her father built. Something inside him snapped. He raised his voice. The sabotage wasn't her fault. Everyone froze. Marcus pointed to the destroyed engine. Someone put primer charges in the core. This was an assassination attempt on the prototype, maybe even on her. The board members exchanged glances, surprised for a moment, but Drayton quickly recovered. "Nonsense. This homeless man is lying to protect her." Marcus didn't flinch. "Check the footage." The rooftop suddenly felt silent. Drayton stiffened. Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice with deadly calm. "Bring up the security video." "But you won't, will you?" Drayton's lips tightened. "Because you already disabled the cameras before coming up here." Gasps filled the air. Evelyn stared at Marcus, shocked. "How did you know?" Marcus didn't take his eyes off Drayton. "Because sabotage like this doesn't happen unless someone powerful covers their tracks." One of the junior engineers ran toward the exit with determination. "I'll pull the security logs." Drayton panicked. "Stop him." But it was too late. The engineer was already gone. Drayton looked murderous. Evelyn's breath shook as she whispered, "You set me up." Drayton's mask finally cracked. "This company was never meant to be yours. It belongs to the board. You were just a placeholder." The cruelty in those words lit a fire in Marcus unlike anything he'd felt in years. Evelyn stepped backward, her legs trembling, the weight of betrayal crushing her. "My father trusted me," she whispered. Drayton leaned forward, smiling coldly. "Your father was a fool, and now you're done." Marcus stepped between them again. "No, she isn't," Drayton glared. "You think you can save her? You can't even save yourself." Marcus's eyes darkened. "Watch me." Before anyone could react, the rooftop door burst open again. The junior engineer returned, breathless, holding a tablet. "Sir, Drayton's security logs show your keycard disabled the cameras 9 minutes before the explosion attempt." Gasps, murmurs. Drayton's face drained of color. Evelyn's hands flew to her mouth. The other board members turned on Drayton immediately. "You compromised corporate property? Are you insane? The media will destroy us." Drayton stuttered. "This Izzy's framing me, this homeless man," but no one believed him. His mask had shattered. Evelyn stared at Marcus, stunned. "You saved me," she whispered. But Marcus didn't answer. He was staring at the helicopter, the machine he had once loved to command, and the life that had stolen itself from him. And for the first time in years, he felt alive. Evelyn stepped close, voice trembling. "Marcus, I'm sorry for everything I said earlier. You didn't deserve any of it. He turned toward her, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of who he used to be. Strong, composed, unbreakable. But the moment was shattered when a new alarm went off, louder than before. The engineers screamed. The second engine is overheating. The sabotage went deeper. Evelyn's eyes widened. If that engine blows, it'll take the whole rooftop with it. Drayton smirked darkly. Then it's over for all of us. Marcus sprinted toward the helicopter again as Evelyn shouted after him, "Marcus, don't! It'll kill you." But Marcus didn't stop. He grabbed the emergency override lever inside the cockpit and yanked it with all his strength, but it jammed. The engine temperature climbed rapidly, red lights flashing like sirens in the cockpit. Evelyn ran to him, grabbing his arm. "Marcus, get out of there." But Marcus turned to her, breathing hard. "I can shut it down, but I need your help." Her eyes widened. "What do I do?" He grabbed her hand. "Trust me." She hesitated only for a second, then nodded. The rooftop trembled as smoke poured from the engine vents. Engineers scrambled. Board members ran. Drayton screamed into his phone. Marcus and Evelyn stood together inside the cockpit, the homeless pilot and the Ice Queen. CEO facing the explosion countdown, and as Evelyn grabbed the controls beside Marcus, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Something dangerous. Something powerful. Something that would change everything. The engine temperature hit critical. Marcus yelled, "Now?" Evelyn slammed the emergency switch and the world detonated in fire and smoke. Helena had never seen anyone move the way Marcus did, once the helicopter rotors began to spin above them. The moment the aircraft lifted a few inches off the ground, the man she thought was a broken, ragged shadow suddenly transformed into someone sharp, commanding, frighteningly skilled. He didn't even look at the controls, he felt them. His hands making micro-adjustments with a precision Helena had only seen in documentaries about elite military pilots. But she wasn't thinking clearly enough to admire him. Not when the storm raged around them, turning the sky into a violent gray furnace of wind and thunder. The helicopter pitched sharply to the side as they fought, against a rogue gust. Helena screamed and grabbed Marcus's arm. "Please don't let us die." "I'm sorry. I didn't know, I swear, I didn't know you were." Marcus didn't remove his eyes from the sky. "Focus. Talk later." It wasn't rude. It was survival. He guided the helicopter upward, angling it through a narrow pocket of calmer air. Lightning split the sky in a jagged spear above them, and Helena convulsed, burying her head into her shoulder. Marcus spoke firmly, his voice low and steady. "You're safe. Do you hear me? You're safe with me." His tone, impossibly calm for a man steering a bird through a storm, worked like an anchor. She forced her eyes open. Rain slammed against the windshield, but they were rising slowly, steadily toward a break in the cloud layer. Below them, the dark outline of a forest appeared. Then, a glimmer of orange fire. "Is that?" Helena gasped. Marcus narrowed his eyes. A crash. Survival fire? Maybe? "Someone's down there." Helena's breath stopped. Are you going too?" "Of course," he said. "Someone needs help." He banked the helicopter into a tight curve, descending through the least turbulent pocket he could find. As they drew closer, Helena saw a small clearing, a smashed ultralight aircraft. In her chest tightened a child huddled against a fallen tree trunk, waving frantically. "Oh my God," Helena whispered. "A little boy." When they landed, Marcus didn't wait even 1 second. He jumped out and sprinted across the clearing. The storm roared louder overhead. Helena followed shakily, stumbling over branches. The boy, maybe 9 or 10, was shivering violently, his elbow bleeding, his clothes burnt and torn. My dad, he's stuck," the boy cried. Marcus didn't hesitate. He knelt, inspected him, then turned toward the wreckage. Helena gasped when she saw the man half-conscious, trapped under the crushed cockpit frame. "Helena." Marcus barked. "Grab that branch. We need leverage." Before she could think, she obeyed. They wedged the thick fallen branch under the metal frame. Marcus planted his boots firmly into the mud, veins bulging in his neck as he lifted the cockpit roof with the strength of a man who had done this before. Far too many times, Helena pulled the injured man's shoulders. Come on, please, please, with a final grunt. Marcus heaved the structure upward. Helena dragged the man across the ground until he was clear. Marcus dropped the metal with a loud crash and crouched, quickly checking the father's pulse, airway, breathing. Even the rain couldn't wash away the blood running down Marcus's forehead. From a cut he'd gotten during landing, pulse strong. He'll make it, Marcus confirmed. The boy sobbed into Marcus's chest. Thank you. Thank you. We were so scared. Helena watched them, a slow ache forming in her throat. The way Marcus held the boy, the calm in his voice, the gentle way he checked their injuries as though his life purpose had been buried. Deep inside him until this moment. Let's get them out, Marcus said, 20 minutes later. They were airborne again, carrying 2 survivors who would have been dead without Marcus's presence. As they flew toward the nearest emergency field post, Helena found herself staring at him, not the rags, not the scars, not the rough beard. The man? Why are you homeless? She whispered. He didn't answer immediately. Then he exhaled slowly. I wasn't homeless, he said quietly. I kept moving. Couldn't stay anywhere too long? Why? Because everywhere I go, someone from my past finds me. And he looked at her, really looked. They don't want me alive. Her blood ran cold. Who? He didn't blink. The same people who covered up the crash that killed my unit? The same people who stole millions in defense funds and used me as the scapegoat? Her eyes widened. So you're running, surviving, he corrected. I expose them, I die. They expose me. They make me disappear. So I move. Quiet, invisible. Helena covered her mouth. He wasn't a homeless stranger. He was a hunted soldier. A top-secret pilot. A man whose existence threatened the powerful. Marcus. She choked. You saved lives today. You saved my life. Let me help you. I'm a CEO. I have connections. No, he said firmly. That's why you can't be involved. You're a target now just for knowing me. Eh? Then let me be one, she whispered. Because I don't care. Not anymore. He stared at her, reading the truth in her trembling voice. Finally, his expression softened. Braver than most, he murmured. She flushed, but then his expression hardened. Hold on, he said suddenly. We have a tale. A shadow crossed the clouds behind them. A dark, fast aircraft moving toward them from a distance. Helena's heart stopped. Marcus. He gripped the controls. They found me. The helicopter plunged forward as the engine roared. Everyone hang on. Marcus shouted. The boy screamed. The injured father groaned in pain. Helena clutched the seat, her pulse exploding with terror as the enemy aircraft closed the distance. Thunder shook the sky. Marcus veered sharply left, slicing into a corridor of storm clouds. Lightning flashed. Rain hammered. Marcusar, we going to make it? Helena cried, his jaw clenched. Only. If I still remember how to disappear. The helicopter dove straight into the raging heart of the storm, vanishing into darkness as the enemy aircraft chased them into the clouds. And that was how the world learned the truth. The homeless man the CEO mocked was the only man alive who could fly a chopper through hell.